And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruby, and this is my review for the first part of the trilogy, Fear Street. This is 1994, so non-spoiler review, but let's jump into it. A circle of teenage friends accidentally encounter the ancient evil responsible for a series of brutal murders that have plagued their own town for 300 years. Welcome to Shadyside. The first thing I'm going to say about this film is I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It reminds it reminds me, and probably will remind you of a lot of 90s horrors of that time. And obviously it's set in 94, this first part. It's from the mind of R.L. Stine, based on the Fear Street books. It's a trilogy, and so we're getting this first part. We're going to have another two. It's a continued story that will complete, I believe, by the end. So we do get a kind of fruition story, but there's a lot left over that they're going to explain in number 2 and 3. Think Scream. It has a lot of moments that almost felt like they were creating certain scenes from Scream, and then you do like I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legends, Nightmare on Elm Street, add in a bit of supernatural element there, and what you have is an amalgamation of one of those horror Scream almost comedy moments. There are relationships that are at the forefront, you know, the teenagers figuring out who they are. And I say teenagers because they come off as young teenagers. But one of the things that Netflix stressed in this version of the story is that it's not for teenagers. It's for 18 and above. It's basically for those youngsters that read the R.L. Stine Fear Street books, or, you know, Goosebumps growing up, and now you're adults. They're trying to tap into that audience. That's not to say if you're younger you're not going to enjoy this, but it has an 18 certificate because there is some drug usage. There obviously are some proper death scenes that you're definitely going to get, and quite creative. And it does actually keep you guessing when you think, oh, that person definitely has plot protection, that person might not have plot protection, and it's going one way, which I quite liked, I always liked about Goosebumps, because you're trying to guess what's going to happen, or Fear Street, you're trying to guess what's going to happen, and then the mind gets a little bit more twisted, and you're like, oh, that's where he went. And that's what I quite liked about this film. It's very predictable in moments, and then not so predictable in other moments. I did like what they did with this. It gave me a bit of a feeling of Final Destination, if you remember those films. Yeah, so it feels like it's pulling from certain films, really doing the nod as well to the 90s with the dress sense, with the music. It definitely feels like it's the tone that's correct that they're going for. And I think they're going to do that. I think the next one's like 78 or 74, something like that. In the 70s, they're going to shift to the time zones. I'm loving the cast that they're using for each of the films. This one you'll recognize a lot of faces. The same is happening with the next two. These are a lot of fun to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but there were a lot of cheese moments. Because it's a 90s film, I feel like that's okay. You can get away with some of the dialogue that is quirky, funny, and if you remember the Scream films, especially number 2 and 3, those sort of dialogue scenes where they're referencing stuff that's happening in that zone, in that era, and that happens here in this film. I thought it was quite well put together. Just enjoy. So if you enjoy like a good kind of horror, trying to figure out who done it, who is it, how they're going to survive, how they're going to get out of it, a slasher teen flick, then I think this is going to be right up your alley. Thanks so much for watching this. Let me know what you thought about this. I'm going to give this a B. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.